Well, hello and welcome to the very first episode of DTF St. Louis, the Unofficial Aftershow. I am Lauren Trager. I'm the Chief Investigative Reporter for First Alert 4 here in St. Louis. We're going to be talking all things St. Louis.
Yes. I'm Elliott Collins, TV film critic. Love talking about these type of things that we're talking about, especially since it's taking place in St. Louis. HBO, Sunday night. They never fail to deliver when it comes to water cooler talk, fun shows with great cast. So I'm excited to be here to talk about this show and to explore it with you.
And this is our hometown, St. Louis.
Yes.
We could say we're St. Louis experts,
Yes,
I think.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll take that title.
Exactly,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so when this show dropped, did you have some people who were like, what is DTF? And we're not going to say that word on this show, but do you think people like kind of know what that means?
I think so. In the day and age of TikTok and all the different various social media accounts, I'm pretty sure people are up to certain lingos like that. That's a word that I remember back in high school.
Yeah.
So I think it has a familiarity to it. I think people know what it meant. So and it's a catchy title.
Yeah.
You don't see too many titles with those type of acronyms in them, and then with the St. Louis of it all. So, yeah.
And then I sort of feel like there wasn't a whole lot of buzz about this show until this trailer dropped. And the trailer gives you a good idea of what the show is about. Should we take a look at it?
Let's take a look at it.
All right, let's look at the trailer.
Hey, Clark.
Carol?
I saw this thing, an app, DTF St. Louis. You meet these people so you can spice up your life, spice it up.
What's DTF?
Down to... Whoa.
Whoa, indeed, I guess you could say there. Kind of gives you a pretty good idea of maybe what the show, setting it up, what it might be about. I mean, when you saw the trailer, were you like, okay, I think I kind of get what they're trying to do here?
100%. And I mean, first off, when you see the cast, we were talking a little bit off camera about just, Jason Bateman of it all, great comedic actor, but he also has a little bit of darkness in him that he can play with sometimes, which I like. And David Harbour, all of us love him and the Stranger Things lore, and Linda Cardellini. So the cast was the first thing that caught my eye. And then as the trailer unfolds, I'm a big fan of mysteries with drama, and it seems to have all those things playing with it. And there's a tinge of comedy that I like as well. So yeah, the trailer definitely caught me by surprise, and it looks to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're launching this show. We're launching it right now.
Yep.
That's what's happening. Because what we want to do, of course, is talk about it from this lens of St. Louis, talk about the show itself.
Yep.
But we are hoping that people leave a little smarter, to maybe learn something on this show. On our show, the F is going to stand for facts.
There you go.
We're going to give you some facts, kind of tackle different topics every single week. And this show might bring up some of those themes. I mean, are you kind of seeing like, okay, there's going to be some topics to discuss?
Yeah, I mean, from the idea of, David Harbour's character seems to be in a place where he's not happy. I think we've all can experience that no matter what part of our lives we may be. So I think it has that relatability factor right off the bat. And then the idea, again, the AI, technology, smartphones, all these various apps that people find themselves on, that you can go down these rabbit holes that you might not like what you find when you get down to that rabbit hole. So I think it definitely speaks to contemporary things that we're dealing with today as society, but also relationships, maybe a midlife crisis, maybe feeling down on yourself. So I think there's some nice themes that this show is going to be tackling that we got from the trailer.
And of course, we know from the trailer there is a murder or a death. A death of some kind. It's a mystery. We'll figure that out.
Yes.
But we're going to have some really cool guests on this show, too. Homicide detectives. We talked with a sex therapist who's going to be coming on our show.
Yeah.
And then also we will have an interview with the creator, producer, writer, director of the show, Steven Conrad. So we want to give you a tease of that right now.
I live in the Midwest. I live in Chicago.
Okay.
And then I travel all over the world. And I've recognized that people make these assumptions about me because I'm from the Midwest. They mistakenly think that my appetites are sedate and that my capacity to be unusual or wild is lesser than. And I can tell you for certain that is not true of Chicago, and I've spent enough time in St. Louis to know that this theme that we share about St. Louis, that the detectives arrive at, it's this line, no one's normal, just looks that way from across the street. That you could say that about Chicago, that people can make assumptions about how peaceful and tranquil our emotional lives are. Just because we haven't chosen to move to LA to get over in the movie business or to go to New York to become a titan of industry. they're wrong. Like every mistake you can make in St. Louis. Like every bad decision that awaits you in St. Louis, the same way it does in Chicago and elsewhere.
So, yeah, we're going to give you that full interview, which was a really interesting conversation, really cool to get to talk with him and kind of understand why he set this in St. Louis, why he was interested in telling this story. And again, hoping to have as many big guests on this show as possible. So if anybody else out there is interested in coming on our show, the Unofficial Aftershow, please hit us up. We would love to have you on the show here as this kind of evolves.
Yes.
But, you know, it's like, even looking at the poster for this show, it kind of does bring up some, I guess, imagery. They're literally sitting on swings.
Swings,
So, again, it kind of gives you a good baseline of maybe where we're headed here a little bit.
Yeah. I think as you kind of alluded to, the show kind of hints at a possible swinger situation with this interesting love triangle. We know that David Harbour and Linda Cardellini are married, and Jason Bateman kind of finds his way into this relationship. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, the look of them on the swings, the upside down of the neighborhood, kind of their world is being turned upside down. Maybe their relationships being turned upside down. So I love when a poster tells you a little bit about the story and it gives you a little bit of idea what you're diving into. So it's really, really awesome.
Definitely some adult topics are going to come up here. It's HBO, so we know they're not afraid to go there sometimes. Again, 100%. We're going to keep things pretty above board on our show here.
Yeah.
But, you know, it seems like there are more shows about sort of swingers and stuff. I mean, are you seeing that? And is it kind of becoming more pervasive in culture?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I don't know when, I don't want to put a timestamp on it, but I feel like in today's society, it's more acceptable to explore different things within relationships and being more open to exploring more people in relationships. You know, I know it was frowned upon for, I wasn't born in the 70s and 80s, but I know that for a long period of time, one person, husband, wife, whatever the case may be. But, now it seems to be a little bit more acceptable and people are open to it. So definitely I would imagine this is going to be a show that people not only can relate to from the stuff we talked about before, but, the show is open to the swingers and the conversation that comes with that.
And, of course, that's entertainment too. People sometimes like the taboo or the things that aren't
100%.
talked about very much.
Yeah.
So you touched on him already, Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the questions I have is he just obsessed with Missouri, or what is his? Is he very interested in Missouri? And I don't think he was the first one tapped to play this character. Ended up in the role, if I remember reading that correctly.
Yeah, Hollywood's most busy man, Pedro Pascal, was initially supposed to be casted, which would have been great. He has a history with HBO, with Game of Thrones, and most recently with The Last of Us, so he has that relationship. So it kind of makes sense they want to keep it within the family. But he's busy. He's doing these things in movies and other shows, so it's understandable. But when you get Jason Bateman as a backup, that's
huge.
A pretty good, person to follow up with. And he has a lot of shows under his belt. He's worked with HBO a couple years ago. It was a horror show by the name of The Outsider that he was phenomenal in. So, again, when you lose someone like Pedro, you're like, man, who are we going to find to fill those shoes? And Jason Bateman isn't a bad second option.
And I wonder if it kind of took the story in a slightly different direction. They're such different actors.
100%. I would imagine tonally, they probably lean more into the comic beats of the show that seems to be from the trailer. And not that Pedro can't get to those comedic beats, but we take him more as, he's the Mandalorian, he's the guy saving the world from zombies. But Jason can do that as well, but I think he opens the door for more of that tongue-in-cheek dark comedy, more so than I think Pedro maybe been in a little bit more of the drama that they may have leaned into more.
Yeah, I want to show that picture of him on the bike, if you've got that one, Noah. It's I just love this image right here because I feel like it kind of sets up, okay, is that like maybe one of the, I don't want to say nerdiest because I don't want to offend people out there who love to do this kind of cycling, but it just kind of, he just looks like a suburban dad kind of, and then where is it going to go from here?
I think you hit the nail on the head. He seems to be your average guy, has his own hobbies, but there's something there, right? There's something that Mr. Bateman's character might be hiding, and he appears to be, again, appearances are one thing, but, when you get to know the person, there might be some other things he has up his sleeve. So I love this image. Again, he just seems like a normal guy, but he's the catalyst to kind of springs along the story and takes the story in many different directions. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see what Mr. Bateman has to offer in this role.
Of course, I know him from Zootopia because I got little kids, so we're always watching that movie. Yeah. So, and I love him in that. But obviously, Ozark too, a huge part of our culture now and what people talk about here in Missouri. And it did a lot of things for the Lake of the Ozarks.
It did,
bringing it's a lot of eyeballs that obviously maybe didn't even know about the Lake of the Ozarks or didn't know that there might be some interesting storylines that happened there. I mean, do you think he's going to be like Marty Byrde from that show, or is it totally different?
I would imagine there's a little bit of Marty in there just because, again, based on that show, he was kind of our lens into that world, and he's the good guy, but he does some bad things. He's almost, I compared it to like Breaking Bad. It's the Walter White effect. He's a bad guy, but we're rooting for the bad guy in a certain extent. So I think Jason's going to probably tap into that in this role. Again, appearances. He's a weatherman. Seems to be a good guy in the neighborhood, his little hobbies, but there's something down there that might want to cause some chaos.
Yeah.
So, and he can definitely do that.
Well, and of course, he's a local news weather guy.
Yes.
So we know a few of those around here at First Alert 4. Probably very different. Everybody here is, they're straight up folks, family folks. I don't think they're getting into any of that. But there is some of that interest of like local TV news people and why do they like those characters, and do they again just sort of seem straight-laced to begin with, and then if there's a turn in their narrative arc, it's just kind of interesting. We've been watching, of course, to see, okay, are they naming the right places? Are they using, for example, I think that it's pretty clear that David Harbour's character is a sign language interpreter. You don't often see those around a local TV news station. So those are some of the things we're going to get into, I think, on this Unofficial After Show. But let's talk about Linda Cardellini now.
I love her.
And I love this picture of her, if you can pull it up, Noah, number 2, because she's got Purina right on her vest. And for those who may not know, that is a St. Louis-based company, a pet company, pet brand. So to see that, it's just like, wow, okay. That's a St. Louis reference right there.
Yes, and it goes back to just the Jason Bateman of it all, kind of the pillars of the community. You think of a weatherman, you think of someone you can trust, you think of someone that's working locally in St. Louis, another person that's within the foundation and the essence of the town and community, and someone that you can rely on. But again, based on the trailer, it looks like she might deviate from her marriage and explore this other relationship. So again, looks are one thing, but as the show is going to we're going to discover is that these people have different agendas, different personalities. People change.
I know.
Yeah.
Suburban life, right? I think sometimes gets that intrigue going.
Yes, 100%.
And then David Harbour, I mean, obviously coming right off the finale of Stranger Things, feels huge for them to have him. And do you think this is going to be like Hopper? I mean, is it? We just love Hopper. If you know Stranger Things, it's like he is just such a fan favorite.
He's everyone's kind of, he was a dad to Elle. He's a dad to the audience.
Yeah,
he's the guy that we always root for. He always finds a way, figures out a way. When we first met him, he was kind of down and out, losing his daughter or whatnot. And I think that's a little bit of what he's tapped into. He seems to be a character that is kind of down and out, kind of feeling like he's lost track of life and doesn't know where to go until he, runs into Jason Bateman and opens up this new door for him. So I think David Harbour is great at playing with, he's just, I think he's over like 6 feet tall. He's a tall, big tank of a man, but he's a teddy bear inside. So I think they're going to play to that of playing to the audience what we know of him, but then maybe twisting it on us as far as diving deeper into being more of a sympathetic kind of a guy that doesn't feel as confident as a Jim Harper. So I think they're going to play to us thinking one thing about him,
interesting,
but giving us something a little bit more of a different side of him as an actor.
I read that he had to wear a prosthetic belly for this, and I feel like that belly might be a main character as well. Like it's giving us a lot of clues about where he is in life and what he maybe needs,
100%,
or why he's not feeling so great about himself.
Hey, the first thing, your health is important. And when people let their health slide, it kind of speaks to where they're at in their life. So I think there's definitely something to look into with the beer belly, maybe we can call it.
And then rounding out the cast, I'm really intrigued by this sort of detective duo, this like foil of characters, young and old, and maybe new school, old school. I mean, and Joy Sunday, obviously from Wednesday too. A very different character again. I'm kind of curious to see how she's going to be in this sort of more adult. Obviously, she's a teenager in the other show, in this role, and kind of challenging Richard Jenkins' character.
Yeah, I think you spoke on it so well as far as that dynamic of a new school versus old school.
Yeah.
I would imagine he's going to maybe have to rely on her to more explain the technology of it all and what this app is, the DTF app and what have you. But then he's going to probably offer her some tidbits of like, you might understand the technology of it all and this and that nature, but I'm someone that studies people. I've been doing this for however many years, and I can bring this expertise. So I think there's going to be a tug and pull, a little bit of another relationship to explore of two people trying to learn each other while trying to figure out this case. So I love when you have an age difference in these type of stories, when you have detectives that come to a case with different perspectives. So that's going to be fun.
And I hope we get to kind of see, their deeper story as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like when you have a detective in a show, they're kind of like one-sided or just not very like deep characters.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping we get to like really see maybe parts of their inner lives or their relationships and how that kind of contrasts to these, adults who are sort of stepping out of their marriages or finding themselves in these situations of consequence.
Yep, 100%. I think that I'm hoping so, because I don't think you get these two actors just to be there to be your standard detectives or give us exposition. I assume there's some skeletons in their closet that we might explore. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, for a show like this, especially a limited series, only 7 episodes, that's pretty tight for shows nowadays. I'm guessing it's still going to be meaty length because it's HBO. It's not going to be these 20 minutes and they don't have commercial breaks and stuff like that necessarily. But do you think that the arc is going to go pretty quick? I mean, and could there be some big twists and turns?
I think so. I mean, they are so great at limited series. They tend to give us 1 or 2 great ones a year. I mean, White Lotus started off as a limited series, but it was so popular that they, demanded more, and it got better as it went along.
Right.
But yeah, the way HBO tackles their stories with limited series, that they tend to have a beginning, middle, and end, versus, again, when you have this multi-season story, sometimes the writers are still trying to figure out, okay, if we do this, what does that mean for future seasons? Where if you have a limited series, you know where you're going at, you know what you're trying to accomplish with your themes and your stories. So they normally, again, HBO, Sunday night, limited series, tend to be great shows. So I'm really excited to see, again, twists, turns, reveals, but also a character-driven story. I hope to not only learn something about these characters, but grow to love these characters for the next 7 weeks, or grow to hate some of the characters and love to hate a character. So I'm hoping that this show offers all that within the next 7 weeks.
Well, and of course, again, we are watching it with the eye of St. Louisans. We want to see how are we portrayed here, maybe the Midwest in general. Again, I think there's just some of that interest in like, are we boring? Is these flyover cities? We just don't get to play a lot of times that the coastal cities do. So I'm just kind of curious to see all the St. Louis references and really see, maybe how this portrays our town. Yeah,
that's as you just mentioned, LA, New York, and other cities that are normally in media that we see a lot. But it will be interesting to see if the show has anything to say about Midwest towns, Midwest people, how people carry themselves, how people keep secrets, how people give appearances. So I'm really intrigued, not only to see the little, that reminds me of that, I know that street, but also see what the show has to say, if anything, about a Midwest lifestyle.
And that's what's so cool about any art, right? Like that's what we're going to be doing on this show, the Unofficial Aftershow, is how does this apply to real life? And that's why I'm so excited for these conversations that we're planning throughout these several weeks, 7 weeks or so 8 weeks. Because I just think some of these experts that we're going to be bringing in are going to weigh in on exactly those topics and how they apply to real life. The show is a springboard for dialogue and conversation, and we're going to be having that here on this show.
It's going to be so exciting.
I know. I'm really, really excited. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Thank you guys for watching. Definitely hit us up on our socials. You want to let people know how they can find you? Yeah,
I'm available on pretty much all the platforms out there, from your YouTubes, your TikToks, your Instagrams, your Letterboxd for movie fans out there, X, all the different places at Movie Files if you guys want to hear my thoughts on other movies and shows.
Well, and I'm at Lauren Trager Reports. We're also, again, First Alert 4, so you can find us on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all of those. But do reach out because we want to hear from people too. We're going to be reading comments, and again, this dialogue is ongoing. It's a conversation that we want to continue. So if you have thoughts and you want to weigh in, please do. But we are planning on dropping these episodes as early as possible on Mondays, so right after the HBO series, which airs on Sunday evenings. And we hope that you will join us for these. So that's it for us for now. DTF St. Louis, the Unofficial Aftershow.